So now, ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? We'll begin the opening ceremony shortly. I cordially ask all the participants to be seated. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the opening ceremony will begin shortly. I cordially ask all the participants outside to come inside and take your seats. As a favor, so please turn off your cell phone or put them on silent mode to minimize interruption during the ceremony. 잠시 안내드리겠습니다. 곧 개회식이 진행이 될 예정.
Ladies and gentlemen, would like to kick off the opening ceremony. Please make your way into the venue and put your phones into vibration or silent mode.
And also, ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make about the interpretation. I will provide you the simultaneous interpretation. Those who need the professional interpretation, please use your receivers. Channel 1 for Korean, 2 for English, 3 for Persian. 그리고 오늘 행사는
Would like to provide simultaneous interpretation service, channel 1 for Korean and 2 for English and 3 for Persi. So please use your receivers.
고맙습니다.
Thank you.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The opening ceremony will begin shortly. Please take your seats. And as you're able to, please turn off your cell phone or put them on silent mode. Also, we'll provide you simultaneous interpretation. Please use your service channel 1 for Korean, 2 for English, 3 for Persian. 다시 한번 안내드리겠습니다.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will kick off the opening ceremony momentarily shortly. So please take your seats and turn your smartphone into a vibration mode on silent mode. We would like to provide simultaneous interpretation, channel 1 for Korean, 2 for English, and 3 for Persian. Please take your seat. Thank you for your cooperation.
Gentlemen, I cordially ask all the participants to be seated to start the opening ceremony. Thank you very much for your cooperation. 고맙습니다. 네, 저희 곧 시작.
We will kick off the opening ceremony momentarily.
Opening ceremony soon. Thank you. So now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our honorable guest of this event with a big hand.
Mr. David Stewart, representing F.W. de Klerk Foundation.
And Yoo Seung-min, the Pyeongchang 2018 Legacy Foundation President.
Ruth Mitchell, member of the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War. Shirin Ebadi, Nobel Peace Laureate in 2003. Kailash Satyarthi, Nobel Peace Laureate in 2014. Ekaterina Zagladina, President of the Permanent Secretariat of the World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates.
And please welcome the Mayor of Pyeongchang, Shim Jae-gu.
Leima Bowie, Nobel Peace Laureate in 2011. Tawakkol Karman, Nobel Peace Laureate in 2011. Wided Bushamawi, Nobel Peace Laureate in 2015. Ira Helfand, member of international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons.
And Gino Park, 강원일보 newspaper CEO. Tatsuro Suki, the Puguash Conferences on Science and World Affairs. Joy Norman representing Leha and Tutu Foundation. So welcome all our distinguished guests on stage to this event. Ladies and gentlemen, would like to take a photo before we begin the opening ceremony. Why don't you give another big round of applause to our distinguished guests who has been devoting their whole life for the world peace. I don't think this is enough to cheer on this event. Ladies and gentlemen, we need additional big round of applause to begin this opening ceremony with our distinguished guests.
So welcome to the 18th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates in Pyeongchang, Gangwon Province in Korea.
And my name is Sori Moon, the TV host here in Korea.
My name is Livia Malcanjo. I work for the Permanent Secretariat.
And thank you very much for attending in this beautiful event. And also thank you so much to our distinguished guests for sharing valuable time to attend in this conference. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite your seats back to enjoy this conference. So please make your way back to your seats. Thank you. Thank you very much. As you may all be aware, the World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates was founded by 1990 Nobel Prize laureates and the former Soviet Union United leader Mikhail Gorbachev to establish world peace. And later, it developed into a forum of open discussion by gathering a Nobel Prize laureates to tackle humanity's task of relieving tension and strife, as well as search for methods to establish world peace. After the first conference in 1999 in Rome, Italy, the event has been held in landmark cities of the world, such as Paris, France, Berlin, Germany, Hiroshima, Japan, Chicago, USA, etc. So as a Korean, it is beautiful to think it is being held here in Pyeongchang, Republic of Korea.
So please welcome now the President of the Permanent Secretariat of the World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates, Ekaterina Zagladina, for her welcome speech.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Dear Nobel Peace Prize laureates, Mr. Mayor of Pyeongchang, Jae Kuk-shim, Mr. President of Legacy Foundation, Sing Min Ryu, Mr. President of Gangwon Daily Newspaper, Gangwon LBO, Jin-oh Park. On behalf of the Permanent Secretariat of the World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates and our team of collaborators, I welcome you to this 18th summit and extend to you all our gratitude. It is really an honor for us to be in this city and this province, known worldwide for having hosted a successful Winter Olympic Games, symbol of brotherhood and universal cooperation in February 2018. Just as Pyeongchang hosted a World Sports event, it now hosts a World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates with a goal that brings us all together to advance in the path of peace. The fact that the World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates is being held on this Korean peninsula has great significance. Korea and its unfinished war, as well as many other ongoing wars, are for the world open wounds that we all want to finally heal. Conflicts, tensions, and divisions are part of the global landscape in various parts of the planet. More than 3/4 of a century after the end of World War II, human beings keep choosing self-destruction and negative reality, though we have the choice to construct a positive reality and build bridges of dialogue and cooperation. This destructive reality can be changed through inner peace because external peace is only possible as a reflection of the true internal peace of a human. If we produce anger, the world around us reflects anger. But if we produce harmony, the world around us flourishes with mutual understanding and cooperation. All this is an internal work to achieve the expression of our real being. An internal work that leads to imagine and make true a world based on the ethics and peace. Current challenging reality can be changed by the will of humans themselves and their consciousness of every thought, emotion, and action they take. This means being conscious of the consequences that our thoughts, words, and actions can produce. It is just a justification for ourselves by saying that circumstances force us to act against peace. We are perfectly able to make free will choice. Peace over war, love over hate, and harmony over fear. It is a matter of inner work. Sometimes there seems to be no way out in sight. Sometimes we see everything is predefined in boxes, maintain the illusion of duality, good and bad, bitter or sweet, and concentrate on the shadows of these two options instead of following the trail of light. But light is powerful, more powerful than shadows. It embraces other dimensions of thinking and a positive and constructive path from within, without excluding anything and embracing with all love, compassion, and respect. This path to peace also comes through understanding of our unity. We are like cells in the same body as planets and stars of the same galaxy, and we have to realize that we will only be healthy and peaceful and happy when all the cells of our body are healthy. Attacking others is as self-destructive as one cell attacks the other. The only way to protect our existence is to protect everyone's existence. Unity and cooperation are much stronger than the tendency to division and conflict. The tool which helps to live in unity is life with ethics. It is life where there is a cooperation instead of competition, and empathy instead of division. A life with ethics is one that seeks the realization of one's own identity with dignity and harmony without going into confrontation with others, because it understands that each human being is unique and that his/her contribution is important. The motto of this summit, therefore, could not be more appropriate. We are stronger together. The truth is that the essential nature of the human being is peace and joy. The truth is that dialogue, the force of the word, has the power to find solutions in the midst of the worst circumstances. The truth is that diplomacy, on many occasions in history, has proven capable of turning enemies into partners and partners into brothers and sisters. That is why we're joined here in this peninsula by men and women and organizations, by Nobel Peace Laureates whose actions earned them the highest peace award. They are here to debate, to question, to think together, to propose, to share success or challenging stories, to listen, to accompany. We are here above all to declare, with the strength of 8 billion human beings who inhabit this planet, that humanity is capable of achieving peace and unity. It seems to be a counter-obvious statement when the news shows us day after day the images of destructive processes. Nevertheless, we have been holding these summits for many years, and we hold this meeting in Pyeongchang in particular to demonstrate that regardless the wall of hate and fear, we can see the essential truth of the human being, which is only peace and harmony. To fix our focus and our will on the light that shines above and not on the darkness that tries to obscure it. To declare among all that the force of peace and the drive for unity are capable of creating a better world. To declare with conviction, dear friends, that we are stronger together. I cannot end these words without paying a heartfelt tribute to Mikhail Gorbachev, a dear friend of my family and myself. A great leader, not only of Russia, but of the entire world. He always wanted to put his life, his experience, at the service of peace and the coexistence of humanity. And therefore, more than 20 years ago, he had the idea of creating this summit to meet on a regular basis with his fellow Nobel Peace Laureates. If we are gathered here together, it is thanks to his global vision, his passion for peace, his human values, his moral strength, and his unique way of leadership. As His Holiness the Dalai Lama said to me, some people may have different opinions of Gorbachev, but he brought more peace and freedom. In his memory, with emotion in my heart, I declare this 18th summit inaugurated. Welcome and thank you very much.
That is right. Let us all take a moment of silence for Mikhail Gorbachev. We have prepared a commemorative video clip in honor of his legacy. Let's all watch.
I would like to express once again my deep gratitude to the Nobel Committee for being highly estimated for my commitment in the field of the foreign policy. I perceive this. Through this, I see the organization's attitude to the perestroika reconstructing processes.
On the 15th October 1990, the first and only president of the USSR became a Nobel Peace Prize laureate. Due to the tense political situation in the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev wasn't able to visit the Norwegian capital until the following summer to give his first Nobel lecture in Oslo. The man who changed the course of history, opened the Iron Curtain, and rid the world of the threat of nuclear war was so aware of his role in the international community.
Сделать сейчас правильный всемирно-исторический выбор.
To make the right word historical choice now, not to miss the great chance of the turn of the centuries and millennia, to make the current very difficult transition to a peaceful world order. As far as fundamental choice is concerned, pressure from neither the right nor the left will dissuade me from the position of perestroika and new thinking. The choice is final, and I have no intention of changing it.
И убеждений не собираюсь. Выбор сделан окончательный.
A world without confrontation, based on cooperation. A world where problems are solved peacefully. The face of this policy of new thinking was Mikhail Gorbachev, and the symbol was the Nobel Laureate Summit, of which he was a co-author. Since 1999, the Nobel Peace Prize Summit has become a platform for debate on the most pressing issues: human rights, sustainable development, the environment, poverty. The best minds on the planet, those who have made a significant contribution to peace and put their heart and soul into the idea, come together to help find solutions to current problems, regardless of historical, ideological, religious, or cultural differences. In the United States of America, the summit was first held in 2012.
That's a great responsibility, too, on all of us, on the current generation. What I would like to say is this. I think that the governments in many countries now understand the importance of youth.
He said that the world of tomorrow is the world of today's youth. He did everything he could to get society to choose new ways of resolving conflicts. He was an optimist, even when there was no reason for this. He was able to negotiate, even when there seemed to be no chance. Thanks to him, the two nuclear powers have gone from confrontation to engagement, and even partly to partnership. The treaty between the USSR and the USA on the elimination of intermediate and short-range missiles bears the signatures of Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev. Until his last days, he tried to contribute to the improvement of international relations, to promote the strengthening of peace and humanitarian cooperation. Ideologist, reformer, and philanthropist Mikhail Gorbachev died in 2022. But his beliefs and his associates remained.
Дело его будет жить. Горбачев...
His legacy will live on. Gorbachev never saw politics as an extension of war, and war as an extension of politics. He wanted to break this link between politics and war. He wanted there to be another link between politics and morality and integrity. I think the Nobel Laureates will fight for that.
Я думаю, что Нобелевские лауреаты за это будут бороться.
Yes, the end of the war, Cold War, we are joining everyone with our utmost respect to Mikhail Gorbachev, who has left his mark in world history. So we would like to express our deepest gratitude for his efforts for world peace. Thank you very much. And so following next, as the place we are in now is a place called Pyeongchang. So the mayor of Pyeongchang is also here with us today. So I would like to invite to the podium the mayor of Pyeongchang, Jae-guk Shim. Please welcome him.
Good afternoon. My name is Shim Jae-guk. I'm the mayor of Pyeongchang County. I would like to express my appreciation, thinking that it is my honor to host the 18th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates in Pyeongchang, and I sincerely welcome all the participants. Korea was the only divided country, and for the peace of the Korean Peninsula, many people made effort, and many people also gathered here. So on behalf of the whole Korean population, I would like to welcome you. As you know very well, in Pyeongchang in 2018, there was Pyeongchang Winter Olympic Games, and we are continuously spreading the spirit of Olympics. And we are continuing our spirit of peace and harmony, which is the core part of the World Olympics. And I believe it is universal truth. Many Nobel laureates received their award thanks to their contribution to global peace. And in order to understand their values, many people participated in this summit, so I would like to express my sincere gratitude for your presence. Nowadays, we can learn the news of the world in real time, and we understand that the policy of one country can have huge implications to other countries. COVID-19 pandemic, hunger, war, energy and economic crisis, as well as unusual climate change. These are very complex global issues, and in order to address these problems, Nobel Peace Laureates gathered here in this World Summit, and I believe all the participants will contribute to discussion. 72 years ago, there was a Korean War, and despite the support of the UN, within just 3 years, the entire country has been ruined, and Korea became the poorest country in the world. We have this sad history. However, now Korea became an advanced country by hosting Summer Olympic Games and Winter Olympic Games. And we also achieved economic development pursuing freedom and equity. And Korea became one of the leading countries in the democratic camp. The theme of this summit is Stronger Together. And we have very strong belief in peace and prosperity. Nowadays, we have many problems, and I believe we can give very strong message to the world. I look forward to the discussion and the declaration of the peace in this World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates, and I believe this will be a very meaningful time to contribute to the global peace. Thank you very much.
We will now watch a warm-hearted video message kindly sent by President of Timor-Leste, Mr. José Ramos Horta, Nobel Peace Laureate in 1996, a very good friend of the summit.
Let's take a look.
Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is with much regret that I'm not able to join you in Korea for the great meeting, the 18th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates. Being held in Korea at such a time that are very uncertain, unpredictable, dangerous for regional peace and security and for world peace and security as well. We are all well informed about the rising tensions in South China Sea, in the Korean Peninsula, and in particular in the ongoing war in Ukraine, in which all NATO countries are involved in the confrontation over Ukraine. Russia's invasion of Ukraine is entirely unjustifiable, is in complete violation of the United Nations Charter and the international law. However, any solution to this war going on in Europe has to be through dialogue between the parties directly involved, Ukraine and Russia, and everyone else outside the immediate region should encourage this dialogue. And we know how a resolution to this intractable problem can only happen if all sides directly involved are prepared to make compromise, to make concessions, without which the war will continue on for a long time with unpredictable consequences for Europe, for the rest of the world. The rest of the world already paying heavy price in terms of increase in commodity prices, in shortage of wheat and other supplies, and has increased the cost of fuel and the cost of food items and all other aspects of world economy. But today I want to more focus in showing solidarity to the people of the Republic of Korea, whom I know well. I have visited the Republic of Korea countless times over the last 30 years. But at the same time, I wish to express my deep concern about the tragic situation in Myanmar, where thousands of people have been imprisoned, many thousands, tens of thousands uprooted from their cities, their towns, and hundreds have been killed brutally by the military regime in Myanmar, with very little attention by the international community. I commend ASEAN leaders for their initiatives in trying to roll back the dictatorship, but so far with no avail. But at the same time, the United Nations, the Security Council, is totally incapacitated to even hold a meeting to discuss the situation in Myanmar. It is therefore incumbent upon us, Nobel laureates, to raise the voices, our voices, for the voices of the people of Myanmar. Those in Myanmar who are now very disappointed with the international community, disappointed with the United Nations, and the apparent lack of attention to the suffering of the people of Myanmar, while there is daily, hourly barrage of information on the ongoing war in Ukraine. Other conflicts have been going on for many years, Myanmar, Yemen, Syria, and the ongoing problem in Afghanistan all seem to have disappeared from the international community radar. So I appeal to Nobel laureates and others gathering in Korea today to not forget Myanmar on the final joint communique. All the best. My appreciation to the mayor and to the permanent secretariat of the Nobel laureates for hosting this event in Korea. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President Osama Surta, for not forgetting to send us important message for the world peace and to give a special message to Korean, where is the only divided country in the world. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let us hear the brief speech commemorating the opening of today's event, today's summit. So it is my great honor to invite to the podium the Nobel Peace Laureate, Honorable Tawakkul Karman, for the speech. Please welcome her.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon all of you. First of all, I am so happy that finally we meet each other after 3 years after the COVID-19 pandemic. And thank you, Katerina, and all the Secretariat for making this happen. We need to meet every year, at least, every year to discuss what is going in the world. So I'm so happy also to meet here in South Korea. This is one of the best countries that I have visited. I love Korea and I love Korean people. Thank you so much. And also I want to say that Annyeong Jonin Achim. Is it correct? Okay, thank you. Okay, dear brothers and sisters, unfortunately, the world is not in order because of the increasing number of political instabilities and economic decline due to the coronavirus pandemic and because of the lack of reform policies and measures in most countries in the world. Under these critical circumstances, regimes that tend to adopt authoritarian policies are on the rise, posing an existential threat to democracy. We all know that departure from democracy is the greatest threat to the international peace and security. Democracy not only creates a genuine political process, but also supports and consolidates peace internally and externally. Those who are negative towards democracy tend to be authoritarian and never hesitate to commit human rights violations. Here, I would like to point out the biggest threat to democracy and human rights at present, which is racism. It is fomented by some politicians, political parties, and media, and poses a real risk to democracies that are considered strong and consolidated. We should remember that democracy has nothing to do with an atmosphere of hatred, fanaticism, and extremism. It is perhaps appropriate to point out also the great political rise of the far right, of some currents and trends driven by authoritarian and racist ideas and theories, as well as discourse that incites extremism and hatred. It is, therefore, urgent that democracy and human rights principles prevail so that the world become more just and less prone to extremism and racism. Of course, I'm not saying that democracy is the magic solution for all the problems, but it is an essential solution. Dear sisters and brothers, authoritarian regimes cause wars and crises because they pay little attention to development and improved conditions for their citizens. Therefore, strategies should be developed to isolate such regimes and reduce the possibility of cooperation with them until they adopt reform policies, until they adopt a real equal citizenship and the real freedoms in their countries. A world made up of tyrannical government is indeed on the brink of an abyss. It is definitely a world of wars and chaos designed to impoverish peoples and destroy nature and human diversity. Yesterday, we, Nobel laureates, visited a border area between North Korea and South Korea. And we were so happy to see that it has become a demilitarized zone and mine-free area. That is a good sign, although there are still many worrisome things in terms of the relations and stability in this region due to the regimes that do not believe in politics and do not respect democracy and human rights. Here, I want to talk about my country, Yemen. And yesterday, when I saw the mines, I remember my country, Yemen, as I always remember it. So you know that my own country, Yemen, is suffering from a multi-sided war aimed at fragmenting that country and its unity in order to control it more easily. By the way, you are here suffering from divided Korea, North Korea and South Korea. We in Yemen suffering from the attempt from the outsider to divide Yemen. There is a huge attempt from Saudi Arabia and Emirates to break the unity of my country, Yemen. So this is a result of war. And this is one of their reasons of war in Yemen. They want Yemen to be weak. The same thing now with the Houthi militia that is destroying my country, and the Houthi militia is backed by Iran. Both countries, Iran and Saudi Arabia are afraid from Yemen, are afraid from democracy, are afraid from the unification of Yemen as a stable and as a sovereign country. So they want Yemen to be weak. So they put a lot of plans to divide Yemen and to destroy Yemen. And actually, they destroyed it. But Yemeni people are strong enough to stop all this chaos, to stop these two bad agendas against Yemenis people and against democracy in Yemen. And also in all Arab Spring countries. Those countries led the counter-revolution to destroy the will, the dream of people to reach to democracy and freedom. And here, I want to give a big attribute, a big greeting to people in Iran, to women in Iran, who making a great peaceful revolution against tyranny there, who raise their voices against authoritarian regime, against dictatorship, who raise the slogan of Zin Zandaki Azadi. So Zin Zandaki Azadi for every people in Iran. Victory for women in Iran. Victory for people in Ukraine. We visited Ukraine, Nobel Laureates, months ago, and we met a lot of Ukrainian women in shelters, and we listened to them. And we knew how they paid a lot in their, as a big price of this war. The first, the war itself against their country. And the second, all the violation against them as a woman. So we are with people in Ukraine. We support them against, the invasion and also war of Russia. And also I thank the President Hussein Ramos of his talking about all that issue, the Myanmar and Ukraine, especially Myanmar. There is a lot of millions of people of Rohingya people. They've been displaced, killed, raped from the authoritarian regime there, and especially from the army. So we, as Nobel laureates, should become together, should strengthen ourselves, should discuss how can we empower our voices to stop all this deterioration in the world. How can we stop authoritarian regimes? How can we stop racism and hatred? This is our responsibility. And I hope that we will have a great outcomes of this summit. It's our responsibility to make this world peace and to make this world free from tyrannies and dictatorship, injustice, racism, and terrorism. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the speech, I believe. And I realize that we need a brave to keep the peace of the world and human rights. So, and I wish for the peace of Central Asia, especially. So now, ladies and gentlemen, following next, we'll have the memorial speech for Laureates and Livia Mercantile, the author for the Being Mobile, which is a lovely book. So she will help us to give us the speech for the book and the all Nobel laureates. Why don't we give another big round of applause to welcome her once again.
Dear Nobel Peace Laureates, Korean authorities, Mayor of Pyeongchang, dear students from all over the world, dear friends of the summit, we would like to use this special moment of togetherness to pay our tribute to fellow Nobel Peace Laureates who have harmoniously contributed to shape the World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates. Unfortunately, they recently passed away after a full, passionate life as leaders who put their lives at the service of others. And although they're not with us anymore, their legacy will remain in our hearts and in our attitudes. They were some of the most courageous Nobel Peace Prize winners, whose values and support during the 20 years will continue to grow along with the summit. Since Mikhail Gorbachev conceived the summit along with the father of our president, Ekaterina Zagladina, these champions of peace were the ones who supported the wonderful idea of reuniting every year at the summit's edition. They enthusiastically participated in almost every summit, from Rome to Paris, from Berlin to Hiroshima, and we will miss them today. Betty Williams will always represent all of those women from the civil society able to have an impact in this world. With her leadership, she was able to say stop to violence and be a role leader for the other peace activists in Northern Ireland. She was the fourth woman to ever receive the Nobel Peace Prize, paving the way to the following women who today make a big group of 19. Without John Hume, there wouldn't have been a peace process in Northern Ireland. Without David Trimble, there wouldn't have been an agreement between Northern Ireland and the United Kingdom. The three of them helped putting an end to terrorism in their beloved land. Desmond Tutu has taught us that neutrality can be the greatest enemy of peace. He put a spotlight to apartheid, and when the institutionalized racial segregation was finally dismantled by President F.W. de Klerk, Tutu did not incite revenge, but put forgiveness and reconciliation, along with President Nelson Mandela. At the Permanent Secretariat of the World Summit, we substantially grow up with their ideas and indications on how to enhance the summit, on how to develop our education program, where students today can learn about their legacy and build their future. Dear President Gorbachev, if we are here today in Pyeongchang, we mainly owe it to you, and thank you for having given us some decades of world peace. Who else would have been capable of it? I would like to ask you all, ladies and gentlemen, now to stand up for these amazing architects of peace, Betty Williams, John Hume, David Trimble, Desmond Tutu, F.W. de Klerk, and Mikhail Gorbachev, and give them a minute of applause. Please stand up. We will never forget them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And also the value of life that they have shown. Let us take a look through the video clip.
In a situation of injustice and oppression, there can be no neutrality. You have to take sides. You have to say, am I on the side of justice or am I on the side of injustice?
In any country, minorities should be accommodated in a meaningful way. Managing diversity, not stamping out diversity. Peace means non-discrimination on any basis whatsoever. So peace is a state of mind.
We have to think and think hard, but if we do not have compassion before we start thinking, then we are quite likely to start fighting over theories.
The essence of our unity is respect for diversity, not fighting about it. And that is the philosophy of peace. Then we will be creating a world in which war and conflict will be left behind.
We see this agreement, this treaty, as addressing the wounds that have damaged our society.
There you are.
я получил такой пост генсека, царский пост, и не стал упиваться властью, начал ее трансформировать, это уже идет от моих демократических убеждений. Это во мне было и в молодости, и это стало моим, так сказать, определяющим, это стало моя кредо, приверженность демократии.
Yes, we truly respect the successful Nobel laureate who has worked for the world peace. Thank you very much to their sacrifice. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome our master of content, Liv Torres, who will give you more details on this event and will tell us what happened yesterday. Please welcome Liv Torres.
Nobel laureates, mayor, and distinguished political team from Korea, friends, and not the least, all the amazing youth that is gathered here. Now, what do we have? We have war, hunger, pandemics, inequality, climate change, all calling out for action. Seldom has the call of this summit, Stronger Together, been more timely. Stronger united, stronger in harmony, stronger in demanding action for peace. The vision of the summit is pulling together, fostering peace, building peace culture and peace education. And seldom has a place been more relevant to send that message off from. Korea, marked by division and war, but also the most hospitable, warmest, generous place to host such a summit. Some of us went to DMZ yesterday and had very powerful impressions of the costs of war, the costs of divisions, and the need to maintain a stubborn focus on dialogue and building peace. One day we will make it, one day you will make it. While we were there, the youth program was kicked off here in Pyeongchang with, I believe, trainers who helped focusing and building skills on YouTube messages and how to use YouTube to create impact. There were painting sessions with Pavel and Ekaterina, and I believe the youth took part in developing paintings that will be offered to Pyeongchang at the end of the summit. And we will, over the next few days, take this forward. We will focus on human security, on the scars of war, on the risks of mass destruction, no less, and on the building of peace culture and peace education. We will send out the signal loud and clear that we want peace and we are indeed stronger together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your introduction of this event, and also the DMG tour held on the topic of the peace. So we listened to the briefing on our venture towards peace from the Liv Torres, the master of this event. We made a record of the DMG tour on video as well. So let us catch a glimpse of its vivid side. Let's take a look at the video clip.
We started the day by welcoming everyone. We were expecting around 200 young people from over 47 different countries. So we talked about what stronger together means to them. We talked about issues with peace building and young people. We also looked at some solutions towards the future.
We are standing here today, see this division in front of you.
Coming to the DMZ, I think it's important for all of my fellow laureates to join on this trip to draw attention to the need for peaceful and united Korea.
What do you want? Peace! When do you want? Now! Where do you want? Here!
It's very important and symbolical to come here along with Nobel Peace Laureates because it reminds us that we are one and any separation and division does not bring humanity to a positive path.
It doesn't matter where we are in the world, we are all connected because our stories are very similar.
Reunification of North Korea and South Korea will send a strong message that the humanity is one.
Yes, this is quite emotional. A story of peace being unfolded in the only divided nation. with the Nobel Peace Laureate. So I would like to begin the session 1. 앉을게요. So now, ladies and gentlemen, before we start, I would like to make an announcement. Please be seated to begin the grand session with the title of Stronger Together, which is quite important session of this event. So please be seated. I cordially ask all the participants to be seated. And I would like to inform about this in Korean as well. 지금부터
We'll kick off the grand panel session 1. Please take your seats. Once again, I urge you to turn your smartphone into a vibration or silence mode.
Cell phone or put them on silent mode to minimize interruption during the session. And also, I would like to give some information about simultaneous interpretation once again. We'll provide you the simultaneous interpretation. Please use your receivers, channel 1 for Korean, 2 for English, and 3 for Persian. Also in Korean.
Channel 1 for Korean, 2 for English, and 3 for Persian. Please use your receiver to fully utilize the simultaneous interpretation services. I think it seems ready. So we'd like to invite every one of the panelists to the stage.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, as soon as our honored guests just take their seats, we will begin this session 1. So please wait for us for a while. Thank you very much for your cooperation. 저희 모두 오시는 대로.
So thank you for your patience and cooperation. We will begin shortly after everyone gets arrived.
They are just coming up the stage. So now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome honorable guests for this session 1 with a big hand. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, it's been a long time to meet together due to the COVID-19, so they just say hello on stage. So after all our honorable guests sitting down, we'd like to begin the session when. All right, so ladies and gentlemen and everyone, welcome to the grand panel session with the title of Stronger Together. My name is Sori Moon, the moderator of this session. And yes, there is a famous proverb in Africa. If you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together. Actually, it highlights the importance of being together, I think. What about the Korean Peninsula? We went through 70 years division. But we had 5,000 years history together between North Korea and South Korea. There are more similarity than difficulties, that is why. And we have same language, same culture. So wouldn't we be able to grow into a stronger country if together? Or will we really become stronger if we become one? If so, then why are we not able to unify after such a long time despite being our just kin? So we'll talk about this. What is the problem to unify between North Korea and South Korea? So today, let us discuss that with our Nobel Peace Prize laureates and one of the distinguished guests from Korea who has devoted himself for peace. So as I introduce them individually, please welcome them with a big round of applause. And today we have Honorable Nobel Peace Laureates. First of all, I would like to just introduce the Korean, Mr. Park Kyung-seo Park. Please welcome him. Thank you very much for joining us today. And we have Dr. Shirin Ebadi, Nobel Peace Laureate 2003. Thank you very much. And also today in this session, Ms. Lema Bowie, Nobel Peace Laureate 2011. And today we have Ms. Tawakkul Karman, Nobel Peace Laureate 2011. And please welcome Mr. David Stewart, representative of F.W. de Klerk Foundation. So before we start the discussion about the Korean Peninsula, let us hear the presentation from Mr. Kyung-seo Park about the situation of North Korea and South Korea. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, please welcome Mr. Park. Would you please give us your presentation about the situation of Korean Peninsula?
Friends, at the outset, let me register my joy and honor for being invited as one of the panelists of this very important meeting. I was informed the time has been allocated maximum 8 minutes. I have prepared here 5 sets of PPT, which will give you the kind of approximate substances on our struggle toward peaceful coexistence between two Koreas. You have come here to strengthen our struggle, to contribute tremendously for the reconciliation and the reunification in our Korean term. So that is peaceful coexistence between two Koreas. The next, I have prepared a very short substances for the 8 minutes. I say, throughout our long history, the Korean people have been blessed with a cultural, linguistic, and ethnic unity, a beautiful land rich in resources and productive agricultural areas which for millennia have been sufficient to support its population. The land is small, roughly the size of state of Minnesota in USA, and estimated 73 million people live there, 1/3 north and 2/3 south of demarcation line. Korea has never posed a threat to its powerful neighbors, China, Russia, or Japan. But it's a key strategic position bringing Asia and the Pacific made these oft aggressive powers anxious to dominate the peninsula. Japan's main island are located a scant 120 miles to the southeast. About the same distance to the west lies China's Shandong Peninsula. Korea shares its northern border for about 150 miles with China and for 11 miles in the northeast with Russia. 75 miles further north is Vladivostok, one of Russia's principal naval bases and a vital outlet to the Pacific. Korea has historically been a focus of contention among Northeast Asian powers eager to shore up their strategic defenses or have a base from which to launch attacks against others. It is not surprising, therefore, that when the United States posed its manifest destiny, quote and unquote, into Asia and Pacific in the late 19th century, it also viewed Korea as a pawn to be conquered, controlled, neutralized, or traded in order to attain or preserve control over other territories. In the 1905 famous Taft-Katsura Agreement, for example, the USA accepted Japan's ambitions regarding Korea on condition that the US would have a free hand in the Philippines. For centuries, Korea has been a barometer of a political climate of its region. Since 1945, it has become an indicator of a state of peace and security in the world. It was over control of this land that Cold War produced its first hot regional war, which claimed about 4 million casualties, including Red Army at that time, China. Since then, the Korea conflict has time and again reverberated beyond the borders of a peninsula and the region. Now, conflict and division. Such a conflict is not new for Koreans. Throughout its 3,000 years of recorded history, this land has been trampled by armies pursuing, conquered, subjugated by foreign powers, forced into undesired alliances, occupied and humiliated. Despite this, for 13 centuries before 1945, neither the land nor the people of Korea had ever been divided. Therein lies both the tragedy of the division and the hope that it can be overcome. People so bound together over millennia do not easily forget their common ancestry, history, tradition, language, and culture, nor readily accept the division of their nation and the land. The struggle for peaceful coexistence between North and South by the Korean people, 53 million together, 73 million, it is mistake. Yesterday I typed very quick, therefore I made a mistake. 73 million total population will continue never ending our struggle with your solidarity. After saying this, I have summarized just, 9 points. Frankly, no superpowers except the USA. The two Koreas honestly want the peninsula reconciled and peacefully reunified. Security dilemma on the peninsula by escalating arms race. Tired and fatigued by the people because 74 years too long, young generation became indifferent. Humanitarian principle should be welcomed by the United Nations Sanction Committee. I say this because when I was serving as a president of Korean Red Cross, I have conducted 21st family reunion among the separate families with a number of around 1,000 in Keungang Mountain, 2018, August 21 up to 28. I agreed with the North Korean partners that time to prepare 22nd of a family reunion, but we are blocked by the USA working group, US-Korea working group, as well as UN Sanction Committee. Even if it is a genuine humanitarian cooperation, still the blockage is there. No family reunion will be exercised. But I do hope very much it will continue. International solidarity like you. Your coming, as I have said, it is a great help for us to continue our struggle toward the peaceful coexistence among the two Koreas. NGO initiatives and participation should be welcomed by either government, North and South. And the peace education, advocacy work are extremely important. Two Korea plus superpowers, USA, China, Russia, Japan, should agree all together. Unfortunately, we missed this opportunity in 1990. When I have met Mikhail Gorbachev with Kim Dae-jung together, 2002 in Seoul. That time, he encouraged the Korean people that we have to go ahead for the reconciliation and reunification. Therefore, your coming has been again very alive in our spirituality and in our struggle also. Even if Mikhail Gorbachev and Dr. Kim Dae-jung passed away, we are missing all very much. I have used already 8 minutes here. So as I will conduct and moderate tomorrow, second session morning, so if there is anything missing, then I will be with you until the lunch time, then we will discuss among ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Of course, I don't think that it is enough time to look through the problem and the history of Korean Peninsula to unify. But we saw how the situation is in the peninsula briefly. And I think we would like to listen to our honored guests on stage's viewers, their points on the situation in the Korean Peninsula. So this situation in the peninsula may be different from an outsider perspective, not Korean. So I'll give you the microphone individually. Would you please give us your opinion regarding this presentation? So first of all, David, please, maybe. David, or maybe from the. So what do you think about the situation in the Korean Peninsula?
Well, as a foreigner, I don't really have enough experience of your history and your culture and the intricacies of your politics to make a meaningful comment. But what I can do is share with you our experience in South Africa and how we tried to build peace and bridge great divides. And I'd like to give the example of what Nelson Mandela did. When he was in prison, he studied Afrikaans. He got to know his waters. He got to understand the history of the Afrikaner people, because he realized if he wanted peace, he would have to address concerns. He would have to have a dialogue. So my advice from that would be to understand the people in the North. Understand the leadership, what motivates them. Break down the stereotypes that you have developed. Try to understand their ideology. How deeply do they believe in it? What are the possibilities for changing the ideology? But the most important thing is to learn to know them, to try to get inside their skin, because only then will you be able to start to communicate.
I see. So we need some negotiation with North Korea. You say, what do you think? What is the most factors to prevent the unification of Korean Peninsula, or about the South Africa, maybe for the peace?
Well, I think one of the things that we can show in our experience is that even the most difficult and intractable problems can be solved. So you must never lose hope. You must keep on working for unity. And these things can come very quickly, as we saw in Europe in the 1989-1990 period. You think that the world will never change, but history sometimes moves very quickly, and then you must be ready to grab the opportunity.
Right. Thank you very much to give us a bright, bright message for this Korean Peninsula. And now I'd like to pass out the microphone, Ms. Tawakkul Karman. What do you think? Would you please give us your opinion?
I think the most important thing now is the unification between the nation itself. That the people in South Korea and North Korea, they define themselves as a one nation. So we know where is the problem. The problem is not with the people, and is not also with the regime of South Korea. It's because of the dictatorship of the North Korea. So I think under the rule of dictatorship in anywhere, so the dictators doesn't want their people to be unified, to access to information, to enter to the globalization, etc., etc. So this is one of the reasons that why there is no reunification of North and South Korea. It is because there is a dictatorship regime who prevent this thing, not because of the people, not because of South Korea as a country that, as a democratic country. And I hope there is a lot of progress in that, in South Korea, that make democracy stronger, not weak the democracy. So for me, I believe the solution is to help North Korea to be free from dictatorship. So this is the only solution for reunification. So this is the only solution. Talking about dialogue, that's good. Dialogue to stop war, but talking about unification itself, it will not be under the dictatorship regimes. So all the international community, and especially the democratic countries, should help those people that suffer from dictatorship to gain their freedom and to reach democracy. And it's really sadly that we are now seeing that the people, that the dictators are coming together, and become stronger together. And their camp now is stronger than the camp of democrat countries and democracy itself. Now after for example, Ukraine invasion from Russia. So Russia has allies with the dictator of North Korea, has a big alliance with the dictator of Iran, has a big alliance with the dictator of Syria, Bashar al-Assad, has a big alliance with dictator of Saudi Arabia and Emirates, Mohammed bin Salman and Mohammed bin Zayed. So those dictators want to divide us and will become together every day that the Democrat camp give up their morals and their values and weakening themselves. So there is no solution for unification, for democracy, for freedom under any rule of dictators. And if the Democrat camp give up their principles and values.
Yes, I quite understand, but it is not easy to make them give up the dictator.
But that doesn't mean that people should give up. People should continue their struggle, continue their beliefs on themselves, continue their hope, and continue their will and determination to stop these dictators from building bridges and walls and spreading hatred and waging wars and division between people. And I am really confident that people will prevail this battle. Special people here in Korea, special people in North Korea. We should support them. We should be with them.
Well, thank you very much for your opinions. So, during our distinguished guests just give their opinions, do not hesitate to interrupt to give your opinion. So just hold the microphone. And now I'd like to hear the opinion from the Shirin Abadi, Miss Shirin Abadi. So please.
I'm going to speak Farsi, so please use your headsets. Headsets, please. Please use your headsets. کانال 2 برای انگلیسی، 1 برای فارسی. So this is the 4th time that I'm coming to South Korea. The first time that I came here was in 2005. Every time that I have come to this country, I have seen the development in this country and the welfare of the people. And I think that I have to congratulate this country because notwithstanding all of the conflict that they have had with their northern neighbor, but the country has been growing. But why is it that the country is growing? And why is it that your northern neighbor, who speaks the same language, has the same culture, is deprived from this growth? I'm just going to make a comparison, and then I'll tell you what I want to conclude. You know that between my country, Iran, and Korea, there have always been political and commercial relations. good relations. I remember that 60 years ago, this country was really poor. It was after the war that you had. The country was not huge. But then years of war had really ruined this country, and the country had been divided. So the median income here was very low. Unemployment was high. I do remember that 60 years ago, the engineers and the young people of Korea came to Iran in order to secure jobs. But now, what has happened? Compare the two countries together. Iran is not as advanced as Korea. Korea has been developed much better than Iran. The median income in Korea is much more than Iran. Now, Iranian young people come to your country. So what has happened? Why is it that you have advanced and become progressive, but my country has gone backwards? I think the most important issue is democracy. You have democracy. So the government listens to the people. The goal of the government is to construct the country. And if they can, then they can unify and come together. However, in 1979, when there was a revolution in Iran, this revolution resulted in the worsening of the economy, political, and also ethics in Iran. And now all of our young people have to go to other countries for work, come to this country. Whereas 60 years ago, it was the other way around. Your government spends their national wealth for the people, whereas my country, although people are hungry, we spend our money on weapons and send them to the Houthis in Yemen in order to send it to the Hezbollah in Lebanon. Our national wealth is spent on wars and on killing. Your national wealth is spent on building education in your country. This is why Iran, which is a very big country and is several times as big as your country, and we do have oil reserves. You know, we are an oil producing country. Iran is the second largest country with gas reserves in the world. We have numerous mines, but since we don't have democracy, we have gone backwards. Whereas, fortunately, you have built and you have become much better and you have progressed. Every year, every time that I come to this country, I can see the progress. And this is why I want to congratulate you. So, why is it that democracy is advanced in this country? Because the duty of the people is not only voting, people supervise on what your elective representatives do. So you have understood what democracy means, and that is why you have reached sustainable development. But what about your northern neighbor? Do they have welfare? Do they have enough food? Besides missiles and war, do they have any other industry? So you can rest assured that the people of Northern Korea will rise for democracy. And that is the day that you will get together and you will unify. Thank you for having given me the time to talk a lot.
Thank you very much for sharing with us your personal opinion. She must have a different perspective on that situation comparing to the Iran's situation because she remember Korea's 60s and 70s. Thank you very much once again. Now, Dr. Lema Bowie, would you please share with us your personal opinion on the Korean pan-national situation?
Thank you so much. My experience with the peninsula, I would say, beyond listening to the news and hearing it, is that I had a personal experience in 2015 going to North Korea and then crossing into South Korea. It was a journey that if I was asked to take again, I would take. And the reason why it was important for me to go is because everyone had created, in my mind, this place that I will tell some funny stories afterwards, but this place that was a no-go area. And the reason why I was even more determined to go was because from the moment the press release went out that myself and Mairead Maguire, the other Nobel laureate, would be a part of the delegation, we started getting hate messages. And not from Koreans, from Americans, from Europeans. They were insults, death threats. Just think about anything that you're going to go and do. So all of the negativity that you can think about. And we had a lot of other women. The one joke that I tell about going to North Korea was that my visa was $10. The Americans had to pay over $100 and something. So if my visa is $10, I'm the least hostage. If there was ever to be a hostage situation, no one would want me. We got into North Korea, and it was a citizen-to-citizen interaction. We sat with women who whose families are still here. There were tears. But what dawned on me was that as someone who survived a civil war, their experiences were the same. Though my nation was not divided into half, but the impact of war is the same regardless if you're from Liberia or if you're from North Korea. On that journey, I was given an angel, a hostess, like I've been given here, a young lady who was with me all through the day. And one of the days, I wasn't feeling well, and she sat next to me, but we had a very good conversation. And the one thing that I can say is that the center of any conflict is the people. Those who are impacted by the conflict. This young girl was like my daughter, who had dreams and hope. But when people talk about North Korea, it is always about the nuclear, it's always about the politicians. No one really stopped to say, what's happening to the humans? How are they faring in there? We went to schools, we saw children, and I won't go into details, but as a mother, it also broke my heart. Then we left North and came to South. And we met with women here and had a conversation. I will make a bold statement that, and you asked my opinion, so I'm going to give it. I think over the years, the North and South Korea crisis, the people who matter have become observers to their own issue. And it has become about world power, superpower, and the major players who are everyday people have no say in what happens. So what is my opinion when it comes to the unification of Korea? Until the Americans step out, until all of the superpowers in the world step out, there will be no peace. Peace will only happen if North and South Korea decide, outside of all of those external parties, that this is it. People need to begin to say, let's have a conversation. Yesterday it broke my heart when someone said, how many million people is now down to 45,000? Those are families, those are individuals. And for each and every one of us in this room, until we can begin to reimagine peace from the perspective of our collective humanity, and not from the perspective of Democrats, Republicans, Russia, North Korea, China, politicians, and all of these different things, we may never ever see peace. And until we begin to say these things boldly, we are at another risk of Russia and Ukraine being another long history of war. God forbid that we continue on the trend of men in suits, people talking politics. Russia and Ukraine may not see peace, or Ukraine may not see peace, because it will continue to be a political bargaining game. I think it is important for us, when we're beginning to track peace in all of these areas, let's track it from the perspective of people. When I left North Korea, I flew back to New York. And I was very anxious because I'm not American. Again, I'm African. I carry my Liberian passport, and I don't wear my Nobel medal on my neck. So I get to the border control in New York, and the guy took my passport, and he flipped it. Oh my God, you just came from North Korea. And I was like, okay, I'm about to be arrested. And he said, oh, did you see dead bodies and hungry people and dying people and scrawny children? And he just went on and on and on. And I was just standing there. And I said, contrary to that, no. I saw people, maybe not in the best condition, but they were people anyway. Wow, congratulations, you are brave that you went to that place. this tells that the propaganda has gone so deep until we begin to retell the story, we will forever see a divided Korea. And thank you.
Yes, yes. Quite impressive message. Actually, we seems to want to leave away from the complicated problem to prevent the unification of Korean Peninsula for Koreans. To be honest, at the Pyeongchang Winter Olympic Games, I was there as the master of ceremony, and when I met the North Korean people, I just yes, surprising, a little nervous to be honest. So after your message, I think I should change my idea and opinion about that, and that we should solve the problem to prevent the unification of Korean Peninsula by ourselves. Thank you very much for your message. Thank you.
Can I just...
Yeah.
You gave us the permission to jump in. And I don't think it's just the Korean Peninsula. I think it's every conflict in every part of the world. No one should decide who has peace other than those who need peace. No one should decide who has democracy other than those who need democracy. Any kind of support from outside should be a support of a company. If I have a problem, I'm sitting in this chair. Yeah. If there's something in this chair that is paining me, you cannot come and tell me this is how you should stand up. All you can do is, if it is paining you, once you are able to stand, I'm here to hold your hand and take you downstairs. And I think if that is the attitude that we take into the world, that's fine. Secondly, when people begin to ask questions and do things, human to human, ask yourself as a South Korean, is there a journalist or a woman in North Korea with children? A few years ago, I was somewhere in the US and they were talking about death of children. And this mayor of a city was talking about our numbers, our numbers, our numbers. And I asked him, sir, by numbers you mean children that have died? And his response was yes. I say, those numbers are mothers who are crying for their babies. So every time someone talked about sanctions on North Korea, think about how many children will go to bed without food.
Thank you.
I want to jump here.
Yes.
I want to say something. It's very important when we talk about leaving the people alone and deciding what they want, to know that when people like me and people, human rights activists around the world, saying that the international community should do their responsibility to protect the people from injustice and to protect the people from all the procedures of their tyrannies, on killing them, on preventing them from democracy, from etc., etc. It doesn't mean that we call the international community or or Western governments to interfere in military things. We call them for two things. First, to don't support those dictators, because regardless about North Korea, because for example the dictators in Saudi, in Emirates, in Iran, those dictators has the support from the international community, has the support from Western governments, from those countries that they claim that they are democrat, while they receive those dictators, while they don't do anything to stop them from, from attacking their people. So they host them, they honor them, they make deals with them, weapons deals, etc., etc., and they don't marginalize them. So when we say that let people, for example, let people in Saudi or Emirates or Iran or North Korea, if you go to North Korea and ask people now, do you want democracy? They are afraid. They will not say, they will say, no, we don't want democracy. But we want to help them. So the how to help people in North Korea, it doesn't make a waging nuclear weapon war with North Korea or making another war with them. But at least to don't strengthen the camp of dictatorship. When Putin invaded Russia, we saw how much the international community is strong and has a lot of tools that can stop him. They didn't do that with Bashar al-Assad, who kills millions and destabilizes millions of people in Syria. The same thing with Mohammed bin Salman, who kills Yemeni people. The same thing with so when we talk about leave people decide what they want, doesn't mean that leave people under the rule of tyranny. No, we have to support them. We have to listen to them. We have to strengthen them. We didn't call and we don't call for an international military intervention. We call the international to stop, their alliance and support with those dictators. So again and again, it is not kind of food. It's not of drink. It's more than that. Freedom is more than that. Freedom means equal citizenship. Freedom means stability. Freedom means food security. So freedom is really, really priority. So those dictators doesn't just threaten their people. They threaten all global peace. And now is one of the reasons that now all the global peace is threatened. It's not all the democracy, not just in our countries, not just in Arab countries or African countries or Latin American countries. No, even in Europe, even in America now with the far right, movements. Because those countries gave up, the policymakers, the administrations in America, in Britain, in Canada, in Western government, they gave up the values of democracy. So again, we as, peace defenders, as human rights activists, should listen to those people, should help them. We have all the camps of democracy should be together. Otherwise, the democracy is fragile, even in America, in Europe. We see in Germany an attempt of coup 1 week ago. Attempt of coup in Germany. This is the result of their policy toward all the dictators. So again and again, we are with the North Korean people. We should listen to them. We should respect them, respect their struggle, and respect their will also. But I believe absolutely 100% that their will is with freedom and democracy. If you go to them, maybe they will say, no, we are fine. But the reality that they are so marginalized from the world.
Okay.
I would just like to agree with something that Lemma said. Sanctions don't work. They often strengthen the regime. The regime can then tell the people, look what these foreigners are doing to you. The thing that works in changing societies is contact. Send them as many South Korean songs and musicians as you can. Send them TV. Send them cultural exchanges. It's when you start to communicate with people that you start to erode the regime. And that is the big challenge. You know what changed South Africa, white South Africans, more than almost anything else? It was when we began to show the Cosby Show on TV. It changed the way white Afrikaners looked at black people. And this is what you've got to do to change that society.
Please. Hello? Please use it.
Headsets, please. I just heard that my colleague said, bring arts, bring music to the Northern Korean people, or listen to their music. But let's remember that in countries like that, everything needs the permission of the government. So the government does not let people listen to any kind of music. There, people cannot go to any site. What I'm saying is, I'm sorry, but I have to bring this up. Theoretically, it may be correct, but you cannot implement that. In a dictatorship like North Korea or like my country, Iran, everything is under the supervision of the government. Films cannot go to Iran. Foreign films cannot go to Iran. Music needs permits. So we have to pay attention. But at the same time, we have to understand that sanctions will harm the people. But let's also remember that what resulted in South Africa, except people of color in South Africa, was the sanctions that really weakened the government. Let's not forget that people of color said sanction them. So this government has to be weakened so they can talk to us. In order for the government to talk to its people, it should be weakened. When dictators are in power, they're not going to listen to anything. We have to weaken them. So they have to listen to their people. I cannot believe that in the 21st century, your neighbor don't like freedom. I cannot believe this, that they are happy for having to greet their dictator every day. I just want to tell you that when Kim Jong-il died, during the funeral, everyone had to cry. First I thought, well, maybe people like him. Then it became clear that there were people there who had lost their jobs. They were punished because they had not cried enough. So, had you ever seen people who had to cry for the death of their leader? This is not acceptable to me, that people do not like freedom or democracy. Of course they do. But the dictators are not going to let them to express that. And specifically for people who come from outside. In my country, so we observe such theaters. Sometimes even foreign journalists will get a permit to go there and prepare reports. But then they send guides with them and bring them to people who are handpicked and know what to say. For the last 43 years, I have been living and fighting with a dictatorship. I know that people do not have the courage to speak to a foreigner. They know what's going to happen if they speak to a foreigner. Let's also not forget that the dictators are usually friends of each other. North Korea is a very close friend of the dictator in Iran. And nuclear energy was taught to the Iranians by them. The knowledge came from North Korea. And the propaganda of the government of Iran in favor of North Korea is huge. So the dictators find their friends. So I think at this time, people should get friends too. So we have to be the voice of the people of North Korea. خب حالا من فقط میخوام یه
Edward said about bringing music, film, and everything. I think maybe in North Korea, not maybe, there is a dictatorship and people have never seen anyone challenge anything. One of the reasons why I love the fact that we went, there were moments on the trip that we challenged the system. One of the days we were driving, and some of the women here can attest to it, the car, our pilot car in front of our bus, hit a woman who was crossing the street. They literally picked her up and put her on the sidewalk and said we should go. The women in the bus, all of us said, this bus is not going to leave unless we see her taken to the hospital. And they were like, no, it's okay. And we're like, no, we are not leaving until the angels and all of the North Koreans who were with us, they were shocked that we were questioning the authorities, and it was like, no. So at that moment, this woman was taken in a car, driven away, and every day there was question about her well-being, what was happening to her. And the reason why I make this point is because maybe, just maybe, those 20-something-year-old girls who were with us as angels had never seen anyone challenge the authority, challenge the system, challenge the structure. But a group of 17 women came. When they say go straight, we were going this way. When they say come this way, we're going that way. What that did was probably introduce to them that in this world, there are people who will not always walk the straight line. And for me, that is the beginning of change.
Okay, thank you. So actually this discussion is getting heated, and Mr. Park has some messages to present to you. So after his message, we have actually the video recorded a significant message. So after his message, we'll watch the video message. So please.
I'm very happy, our panelist interventions with regard to the Korean Peninsula. you remember, we Koreans have experienced during a Cold War time, so-called Korean War. I have said, including Chinese soldiers, 4 million casualties. So we Koreans, we don't like to have another type of war or violence. As you know, DPRK regime has closed their door almost during the last 3 years. Total closure. No one can enter, no one can come out. But in order to reach or realizing on a peaceful coexistence, we have to invite our partners, counterpartners from North Korea. So we have used, instead of dealing with the political ideology or authoritarian regime, we have used the peaceful coexistence with the mutual respect and the trust. It will be the first step we Koreans are aiming for. Therefore, we said peaceful coexistence. We don't think German type of reunification will be applying to Korean Peninsula. UN Sanction Committee and then USA total sanction against DPRK, but still our brothers and sisters, they can survive. Do you know? Because they have some ways how to earn the money. So in this kind of a particular situation like a Korean Peninsula, we will emphasize peace instead of violence or war. I hope you can understand our Korean strategy. We are not, accepting political ideology what the DPRK is exercising. But if we enter that kind of a step first, they never come to the table where the dialogue will be held. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I hope everyone just will hold our hands in our journey for the peace of Korean Peninsula. So as Forward mentioned, we had a video message from the Oscar Arias Sanchez, the former president of Costa Rica. So let us watch the video clip.
My friends, I believe in peace and reconciliation, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. The reconciliation is a profound and difficult process that involves years of labor, setbacks, and perseverance. To believe in peace, it is not necessary to believe that negotiations are infallible. In fact, we know that parties are often intransigent, that leaders may fail to live up to their obligations and responsibilities, and that violent dissenters can obstruct even the most popular commitments to peace. Despite these obstacles to establishing peace, it is clear that the alternative is far worse. When tensions increase, it is better to accept the need for compromise than it is to accept the cynical belief that we must always live in fear. When pacts are broken, it is more sensible to return to the negotiating table than it is to endure a bloody battle which produces no victors and no solutions. One of the most important items in the agenda of the future is to lay the foundations for a peaceful reunification of the two Korean states. The governments of North and South Korea should replace their distrust and enmity with more cooperation until the day when they can reunite into one single country. I strongly believe that this is the path the Korean people should choose.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The significant message for the peace of Korean Peninsula. And also, of course, they gave us some solutions to unification of Korean Peninsula, but just we would like to officially open to have the solution of this problem. So first of all, before we have the discussion with our distinguished guest on stage, I would like to give you the messages, video messages again from Juan Manuel Santos, the former president of Colombia. So let us watch it.
I want to say how sorry I am not to be with you in this summit of Nobel Peace Laureates. I wish you the best. My experience and history has taught us that every conflict, every war can have a peaceful solution. In my case, they told me that peace with the strongest and oldest guerrilla of the Western Hemisphere, with whom we were at war for 50 years, was impossible. Well, it was possible. And I think that between North Korea and South Korea, many of the conditions that were present in our conflict are present in this war that has been going on for 70 years. They both share the same culture. They share the same tradition, the same history. They eat the same food. And many have families in both sides. How can this war be ended? I want to bring the words of another Peace Laureate, Nelson Mandela, when he said, the most powerful weapon is to sit down and talk. Talk and listen. Through dialogue, every conflict can be resolved. Humanizing the wars, treating your adversaries as human beings, understanding their worries, their frustrations, their hopes. That is a way to start building common denominators that will end up in a peaceful solution. So I think that if we have the determination, if the world pushes both South and North Korea to start a constructive dialogue, the international community was very important in my case, and I think it will be extremely important, even more important, in the Korean case. And with the help of the international community and the determination of the people of South Korea and North Korea, a solution to this war, I am sure, can be found.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Actually, first part, they gave us that solutions of the problem to prevent the unification of Korean Peninsula together. So in this time, in this part, I would like to, like he mentioned, ask you how if unification is a far objective, can they at least end the war? As you may all know, the Korea is still at war. So sometimes I would like to ask whether we would be able to at least end the war. Sometimes we have a little bit fear. We can just have the war again. The peace will be broken in the future, in near future. So, is there any opinions? I would like to ask you.
It's a result of ending the war. So I have an experience. I am from Yemen, and Yemen was divided before. We make reunification in 1990, and between the South Yemen and North Yemen. And as I told you in the beginning, that the most important thing is that unification of the people. So we always, in all history, always Yemen was unified. Under then when the colonialism came, they divided it. And also the previous authoritarian regime calls Imami, which like kingdom like that at time in 60s. Yeah, also, you know, they divided Yemen. But we reunified Yemen in 1990. And before that, we were calling the people, calling themselves as, we are one nation under two regimes. One nation under two regimes. So we need to be as one nation and under one regime. So the biggest victory for Yemeni until now is the unification of Yemen. It's the biggest, it's the reunification, not unification, the reunification of Yemen. There was an internal wars, an internal conflict in each, in the south and in the north. There was, and so the unification itself solved the problems and the wars, the internal wars inside, you know, South Yemen and also the North Yemen. The problem came when, after the unification, because the unification of Yemen produced democracy, a unified democratic country. So, because before they unified, there was, a social government in the south, a dictatorship in the north under the rule of dictator Ali Abdullah Saleh. So when we made the unification, it means it's very important, the unification to be just and to serve all the people in this country. The mistake that happened in Yemen, that the dictator Ali Abdullah Saleh, because the unification was under his rule, he is one of the outcomes of, of his and the other, the authoritarian regime in the south. He started to marginalize the south, and he made a lot of things, a lot of bad things, to marginalize the rulers of the south. So it produced another kind of conflict, another war between north and south under the unification. So that was in 1994. So again, the unification is very important, is the dream of people. People should be unified, but when you unified, it should be under the real good governance and a real democratic country. Now, in Yemen, we are, and I said it today in the morning, now we are a very, Yemen is a strong country in the Arab Peninsula, in the wealth, in the population, in everything. But it's poor because of the corrupt and the dictatorship, the regime, and now because of the war waged by Saudi Arabia, Emirates, and Iran. Now, the problem in Yemen is one of the reasons of war in Yemen is the desire of our neighbors to divide Yemen. So they want to divide Yemen, and all their agenda now is to make Yemen south, to south and north, again, or to make it under the rule of militias. So, with your question in general, for Yemen, the only solution for Yemen is to continue as a unified country. For Korea, the unification will be a result of ending the war, and also, but the unification will be a result of ending or stopping the dictatorships. Because as I said before, and I will continue, under the rule dictator, division will come, war will come, hatred will come, terrorism will come. So I hope that one day North Korea will be free from dictatorship. So when you unified, you will not face the same thing that Yemen, the united Yemen faced under the rule of dictator Ali Abdullah Saleh. I hope that my point is clear.
Thank you very much for your opinion. Yes, of course. But
quick.
Okay.
You have been interviewing us. I'm going to interview you. Do you want peace?
Oh. I have a right to not answer about it.
Well, then we have a right to not answer that question. And you know why? Because it's only North and South Koreans who can determine whether there will be peace and there will be unification.
Wow. As the master of ceremony, I'm shocked. Yes, on that note, yes, I'm thinking about the peace after that. Thank you. And actually, my obligation is to control the time, but I should give 3 minutes individually to our distinguished guests on stage about the problem solutions and the Korean War, whatever. So I'll give you the microphone individually to you, and at the time, the clock's on. So would you please give a message before we wrap up this stage? So first of all, Mr. Park.
In my intervention, I have indicated the 1990, the time when the Mikhail Gorbachev made clear demands for ending Cold War. That time, we, South Korean, invited the North Korea to enter together United Nations. Before 1990, we all together around 13 times to knock the door of the United Nations. But that has been failed because allies of South Korea is against North Korea's entering to the United States, vis-a-vis North Korean allies, they disagree South Koreans entering to as a member state. But in 1990, when the Mikhail Gorbachev made the detente very clear, we finally succeeded to normalize diplomatic relationship with the Soviet Union at that time, as well as China. Very unfortunately, we have missed, plus the normalization diplomatically between Pyongyang and Washington, D.C., and then Pyongyang and Tokyo. Korean so-called peaceful coexistence, cease treaty to peace treaty, can be realized when four superpowers plus North and South Korea will all of a sudden agree. I said the geographical position of Korean Peninsula is the fate that there is a limitation what we can do between North and South, limitation, because there is a relationship between China and the USA. There is a kind of a dynamism between USA, Russia, and Japan, as well as Japan and China. So let us hope and pray that again, the kind of a unique opportunity will come soon. We are expecting that exact high time.
Shirina Abadi is quite correct about the difficulty of trying to work in a totalitarian dictatorship. It is quite different from the situation in South Africa, quite different from the situation that Gorbachev confronted when he was president. We changed, Gorbachev changed, because we wanted to solve a problem, not because of sanctions or external pressure. We wanted to build a society, a life for all of our children where we could live in peace. That was the reason why we changed. And I don't think that the North is going to change through sanctions. The dictatorship will always survive. The leaders of the country will feel no pain. It will be the people who feel the pain. The best way is to continue with the kind of initiative after initiative of the kind that Lema was involved in, of going across, of meeting people. It's a slow process, but it is the only process that I think will finally erode the totalitarian dictatorship.
Thank you.
We talked a lot about North Korea, and now we should talk about South Korea. That it's very important for South Korea to keep holding and to save its democracy. Democracy is the way to prevent real democracy, to prevent wars, to prevent hatred, and democracy should be the way to reunify the country. So it's very important for Korean people to love and to save this experience and to improve it and to protect it, because really democracy around the world is threatened. And now, instead of talking about reunification or with North Korea or any other thing, so to talk about how to protect our societies from those extremists that will destroy the world. So is there any chance for Korea, for South Korea, for those people to hijack the power, like what happened in some countries in the West, for example? This is a very important question. So I advise Korean people, you have a very great country. We love it. We admire it. We're proud of it. So save your democracy to reach reunification. Thank you.
Thank you. And we need the receivers.
That's me. As I said earlier, whenever I have come to this country, I have seen positive things happening. And this is nothing but the result of democracy. In order to stop the weakening of democracy, make the young people like politics. I can see that in many countries, young people do not believe and do not like to get involved in politics. They say political parties do what they want to do, they don't listen to us. So why would we? But we have to encourage our young people so that they can pick and enter political parties. We have to encourage them to be sensitive to societal issues. Let's not forget that many countries did have democracy but lost it. I always compare democracy to a plant with flowers. You have to take care of the plant, water it every day, put it in a light place. But you cannot get a bucket of water and throw it on the plant and think that that's enough water for a month. It's not going to work. Democracy is the same. We have to protect democracy. It's like a flower. If we don't pay attention, it's going to die. This is why we can see that in many countries, democracy has taken a step back. The reason for that is that people don't pay attention. So democracy is like a jewel. Protect it once you have it, or you will lose it. I hope that your democracy will progress every day. And other countries, specifically your northern neighbor, looks at you for democracy. Thank you.
Peace is a choice. War, sometimes not the choice of people. But peace is a choice. No nation, no group of people have ever experienced true transformation unless they're prepared to do so. So I think this conversation is not just for North and South Korea, but for each and every one of us in this room, that we have a choice to work for peace, to live for peace, to speak up for justice wherever we find ourselves. That is what the world that we live in needs today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Actually, I'd love to be with our honorable panelists for all night, but the session 2 and 3 are left behind, so we should wrap up that this session 1. Actually, I strongly believe that we, Korean Peninsula, will step forward, step closer to reach to be one, to be together with the significant opinions and your experience from this session 1. And thank you very much. Even though it is quite a sensitive issue, they just gave us their experience and opinions, ideas for the peace of Korean Peninsula. So now, ladies and gentlemen, why don't you give another big round of applause to the honorable panelists for this session 1. Thank you. And thank you very much to our participants as well. We'd like to wrap up the session 1. And please stay with us for a while for the session 2. Thank you. Bye-bye.